here we're seeing some of the global statistics for COVID-19 as of the 8th of July, 2021. And this is just 5 to 6 days ago, actually. So here we're seeing some of the top 5 worst affected countries, and totally worldwide, how 185 million cases have been confirmed. And out of that, 4 million deaths have happened. The most affected countries are United States, India, Brazil, France, and Russia. And again, we're seeing 170 million recoveries, 170,000 million recoveries, but that still leaves us with 10 million people who are facing this disease around the world and still suffering from it. Now, let us watch this video on the Parashakti Akashic readings from the 18th of June, 2021. Yes, we can go on to the next slide. Now, let me just read the English translation, or read again, so that we can really truly imbibe Devi Parashakti's words. She said, "Still, you are not realizing the power of my words when I say Corona is very much out there. With the support of decision makers, rulers, people who are supposed to protect all of you due to their irresponsibility, it is there and getting more and more strengthened. It is becoming more and more stronger in multiple forms. And all other diseases which are waiting to attack human bodies because Corona had the immunity strength weak in human bodies. Human bodies have lost the strength of immunity power. All the multi-layer after effects and side effects of this pralaya in political situations, economic situations, social situations, mental situations, in every level cannot be described. Wait, this year, focus on keeping yourself alive." Devi Parashakti saying this is not a joke at all. It is an extreme heed to caution each and every one of us. And again, she's saying, you are not realizing the power of my words, warning each and every one of us the dangers of not understanding and not being integrated to what Devi Parashakti is revealing. The next slide, please. So today we're going to be understanding the 3 main revelations that Devi Parashakti had given us. So the first is how Corona had made the immunity strength weak in human bodies. The next slide, please. Devi Parashakti revealed on the 18th of June, 2021, that corona had made the immunity strength weak in human bodies, and human bodies have lost the strength of immunity power. Now, Science Daily, one of the most reputable science magazines that is available and catering to the public with news and information on the latest science news related and anything scientific, has also showed us different evidence on how a COVID-19 infection changes blood cells in the long run. And this was on June 29, 2021. Again, this is very clearly after Devi Parashakti had made this revelation. It shows here that new research suggests that a coronavirus infection alters the biomechanical properties of red and white blood cells, in some cases for months, a possible explanation for long COVID. Now, long COVID is something that we're going to be explaining later in this segment. But the first thing we have to understand here is that the coronavirus infection alters the biomechanical properties of red and white blood cells. Now, many of us know that red and white blood cells are a very important part of the autoimmune system. In fact, we can call them the building blocks of our autoimmune system. And they're extremely important for us to understand, for us to ensure that they are well and healthy in order for our whole body to work as well. So you can see here that the COVID-19 significantly changes the size and stiffness of red and white blood cells, sometimes over months. And the size and stiffness, again, is the biomechanical properties of the red and white blood cells. And it's not changing. It is staying in the same deformed way for several months. And these results may help to explain why some affected people continue to complain of symptoms long after an infection. This is what is called and defined as long COVID. Now, let us see what other magazines and other research institutions are saying about how corona affects the body. This article from the Academy of Medical Sciences says that the way the body defends against a virus is to recognize and neutralize it. However, an article by Forbes explains that corona suppresses the immune system by disrupting the actions of the body's immune cells. This immunosuppression allows for a 2-week incubation period, which gives corona enough time to attack the body. So this is basically the modus operandi of how COVID-19 infects us and makes us extremely weak, even after the whole system is working. First, it infects us, then it has a 2-week incubation period when it is making the whole system extremely weak. And after that, it shows it is positive within the body. And after that, people are undergoing symptoms long after even they are testing negative for COVID-19. So here we have that timeline in a visual format. We have the 2-week incubation period, and then the prodromal period, then the acute period, and then the convalescence. So this is the time when the infection is dying down. And we can see the slow progression of how someone is suffering from COVID and how this usually takes around 22 days to come in full cycle. And you can also see that the convalescence period is much longer than anything else, meaning that the time that the whole immune system is recovering back, even after the symptoms stop showing up, is longer than every single other period. Yes, the next slide, please. And also you can see the impact of COVID-19 here, where we can clearly see how COVID sits amidst other deadly diseases throughout history. On one side, we have HIV and AIDS, and the other side, the Hong Kong flu. And we're seeing how on the most deadly side, erring on the deadly side is coronavirus, and how it is extremely potent, extremely dangerous in the timeline of the history of pandemics. And further studies done by the University of Oxford found that the cells are profoundly impaired after recovering from COVID. And here's an article from the Immunology Network, a very reputable journal, again, on the analysis of long-term impact of COVID-19 on the cellular immune system in individuals recovering from COVID-19. And that reveals a profound NKT cell impairment. And another article from another immunology journal saying COVID-19 immunology briefing notice, where what we know about long-term health consequences and priorities for research. So actually we can see that many of the immunologists and the top researchers in the field are focusing especially on how COVID-19 is affecting the immunity and what are the side effects of COVID-19 and why COVID is affecting the body long after even the symptoms are gone and affecting the daily function of a person. And also the British Society for Immunology, that is the right-hand side article, has also claimed that the effects of COVID are far beyond respiratory health. It also affects the cardiovascular and renal systems. So especially when the COVID is defined as a autoimmune immunosuppressor, it can affect all systems of the body because ultimately when under attack, all systems of the body are becoming vulnerable. The next slide, please. Yes. And here we can see an excerpt from the research briefing on how the human body is affected after COVID. And the name given to those suffering from COVID-like symptoms after the infection has passed is called long COVID. And long COVID can affect the lungs, the cardiovascular system, the circulatory system, and it can also cause fatigue and inflammation. And one of the quotes from the previous articles from immunology journals are saying this exact thing. And again, we can see the exact example of how the lungs can be affected in someone who has corona. So on the left-hand side, we are seeing a pair of healthy lungs with extremely viable tissue. And on the right-hand side, you're seeing COVID-scarred lungs. And obviously, it really looks as though the right-hand side is extremely malfunctioning. You can see that there are more black parts. The parts are not as healthy looking as the right-hand side. And again, we have the subtitle here that says, in the scarred lungs on the right, there are much larger areas of darkness representing parts of the lungs that are having difficulty transporting oxygen into bloodstream. So obviously, if we're looking at this and how the lungs are impaired after COVID, we can understand how all the systems of our body will start to see the effects of not having enough oxygen in the body. And we also know here some of the symptoms of long COVID. Even after contracting COVID, your immune system is weakened and you are more susceptible to other illnesses. It here says that symptoms that can last weeks or months after being first infected with the virus. And multi-organ effects can affect most, if not all, body systems, including heart, lung, kidneys, skin, and brain function. So it really shows how COVID is an immunosuppressor, and people are experiencing the effects long after COVID is gone from their system, or long after they have healed, at least as far as their symptoms go. Their major acute symptoms they are suffering from. So now let us understand the second main revelation that Devi Parashakti had given, that all other diseases are waiting to attack human bodies. So here, Devi Parashakti is giving heed, is giving us warnings about the pandemics that are happening within pandemics. We can go on to the next slide. And the prime example of this is the black fungus, white fungus, and other fungal diseases that have swept through India, affecting recovered COVID patients. one of the most devastating things here is that 9,000 cases of this rare infection were found, and this is this is not very recent. This is about 1 or 2 months back, and we can see that even after the black and white fungus, yellow fungus cases are now reported in India. And again, how it's saying out of 5,424 cases, 4,556 patients have a history of COVID-19 infection. So what this is again showing is that there is pandemics. Literally how COVID works is allowing for other diseases which are waiting to infest in human bodies to start doing so and to start really taking over the human body. And that is exactly how black fungus, white fungus, and all the fungal diseases are working. Because of not having proper sterilization, the use of steroids in the medication for COVID, and also the high population of people who are suffering from diabetes in India makes the population extremely vulnerable to fungal disease. The next slide, please. And here we're seeing some really devastating visuals of people who are undergoing the fungus diseases as well as COVID-19. Finally, let us understand how COVID is also becoming stronger in multiple forms. This is the last of Devi Parashakti's revelations, and we'll be showing here in the next slide how COVID is becoming more and more stronger in multiple forms. So other variants of coronavirus have also recently been discovered, and we have seen the articles, we have seen the news and the research by various different institutions showing how different countries have found different variants, and those variants have gone and infected others in other countries, whether it is India, Brazil, South Africa, or United Kingdom. As you can see the examples here, all of these variants are highly potent and being shown in numerous different countries around the world. And viruses generally mutate, but in the case of COVID, we have seen them become more dominant, meaning they're more powerful and likely to affect more and more millions of people. And here you can see a table where it shows us the variants that have swept the world. Again, in the United Kingdom, South Africa, Brazil, and India, with the alpha, beta, gamma, and delta variants respectively. These are all recognized by the World Health Organization and shown to be extremely strong and able to transmit far more easier than the original variant. The next slide, please. Yes. So the danger of these variants are also further highlighted and categorized. The World Health Organization categorized the Delta variant as one of the most highly transmissible variants of COVID-19. And this small infographic can also show us the 4 variants that are currently circulating. And we can also see how many countries have been affected by that particular variant. So there's the Alpha variant from the United Kingdom with 117 countries which have reported it. The Beta variant from South Africa, which has 122 countries which have reported it. And the Gamma variant with 74 countries. And the Delta variant with 104 countries. And we also saw how more than 4,500 sequences of the variant have been detected in about 60 countries. Studies suggest it is around 60% more transmissible than the Alpha variant, which was more contagious than the original strain that emerged from China. And secondary attack rates have also been known to be 51 to 67% higher than that of the Alpha variant. And this is all compared to the Delta variant. And we're seeing a map of the tracked variant occurrences in all the countries. Yes, the next slide, please. Now let us just watch this brief video where Devi Parashakti reveals further on the other variants of COVID-19. Yes. Now, what Devi Parashakti said, the translation is as follows. Corona is destroyed, but it will take 4 years for the political conspiracies done by humans to end. I will protect my devotees, disciples, and Kailasa Vasis, but no suffering will come for my devotees. But it will take 4 years for the conspiracy of Corona to end. It will come to end only in 2025. It is a conspiracy, a human conspiracy. So the article here shows us how the third wave of COVID may hit its peak between October to November if the government panel scientists. And as per Devi's revelations, we can see from the below article that there is yet more of COVID to come for India. The article continued to say that if a new variant was discovered, it would spread faster during this third wave. With more waves of COVID coming up, what is the best way to protect ourselves? And we have to ask ourselves, does anyone have the solution?